Welcome to Front Porch Lawyer, where we address the humanity of lawyering. Many attorneys are winning battles in the courtroom, but losing battles in their lives. From interpersonal relationships to stress management, Front Porch Lawyer explores topics that improve your practice, your lifestyle, and even your love life. Leave feeling a little more inspired with a smile on your face. Here's your host, Francine Tone.
Are you a perfectionist? That's like asking you if you're a lawyer. Most lawyers are perfectionists. You feel as if you aren't perfect, you're going to get into some trouble. The fear of getting a bar complaint or sued for malpractice creates that low hum of stress in your daily life. As a result, any little mistake can push you over the edge at any time. Now, when you're living with this low hum of stress, the odds of you making another mistake actually increases. There's just no way to live your life or to practice law. Hi, welcome to Front Porch Lawyer, where we explore the humanity of lawyering. I'm Francine Tone, and I am a perfectionist. Step one is to admit it. My Japanese adopted mother was very quiet and a kind woman, but she had very high expectations. When I was a sophomore in high school, I brought home a math test with a score of 98. When my mother came home, I peeled out of the room excited. I showed her the test and said, "This was the hardest test ever." And the next highest score was about an 87. My mother looked it over and calmly responded, "What happened to the other 2 points?" Crushed. I can relive dozens of these kind of vignettes. I carry them around my whole life. I've been very conscious of every 98%. I had to get 100% at all times. I believe this was a curse of being Japanese, even though I'm only half Japanese. And then in 2005, I reunited with my biological mother's family in Japan, and my uncle took me to the Toshogu Shrine near Nikko, Japan. Now this shrine is this ornate masterpiece. This is what it looks like. This ornate masterpiece enshrining the first shogun, the founder of the Tokugawa shogunate. And the shrine is hand carved. There's not a nail there. It's painted gold. It's beautiful. It's a visual and carpentry marvel of perfection. My uncle pointed out 4 columns and asked me, what did I see? And I inspected the columns, and what I saw was that 3 of the columns, the design on it had curves pointing up, and on the 4th one, the same kind of curves were now pointing down. And I thought, a mistake. I was absolutely shocked. And my husband explained, no, it was not a mistake. That despite the perfection of the entire temple, this one column was purposefully put in upside down. This purposeful imperfection acknowledged that perfection was only achievable by gods, and that man must avoid the arrogance that comes from thinking that we can be perfect. So much for perfectionism just because I'm Japanese. But that moment was a turning point for me. Perfectionists struggle because perfection is not achievable. Even though we know this rationally, we keep seeking it. Perfectionism is not a helpful formula for success or a healthy mindset. If the meticulous Japanese artist knew not to seek perfection, perhaps it's time for the rest of us to give it up too. But you say, what about malpractice and bar complaints? Well, there are 2 things that I know about perfectionism that lawyers need to heed. 1, the key is knowing when to pursue perfection and when to let it go. Some things you need that acute attention to avoid big mistakes. For example, you better be certain as to when the statute of limitation expires, because a one-day mistake can be disastrous. But when it comes to research I do, my appellate briefs, I give it 100%. And when I'm writing, I also give it 100%. And about the 4th proofreading of it, I shift down to about 90%, because if I don't shift off of 100%, I will never be satisfied and I'll never get it done. So seek perfection, but be satisfied with excellence. 2, when you discover the lack of perfection, don't automatically have this big reaction. I can't even count the number of times that I've seen lawyers go ballistic over mistakes. Where does that get you? Nowhere, that's where. Now, I learned a long time ago that telling lawyers not to seek perfection in their work is falling on deaf ears. Then I realized the problem wasn't the seeking of perfection. It was how you reacted when you learned that something was not perfect. So remember, once something's out the door, you can't do anything about the mistake. It's gone. So there's no point ruminating over it. If it hasn't left the door, it's correctable. So there's no reason to react, go ballistic, or yell at anybody. Just relax and fix the problem. This is one of the reasons why you have staff to help you. So treat it as a teaching moment for yourself and your staff. Perfectionism sounds good, but it's simply not good for us. So I switched my outlook from perfection to excellence. Sounds simple, but doing it is harder than it sounds. And the need for perfection still creeps in. It's a lifelong habit for me, as it is for you, and it's hard to break. But by taking a moment and realizing that excellence is all that I'm achieving, there's the ample time when I can say stop and say, that's good enough. And good enough it is. And sometimes excellence is more than you need. And sometimes far less is good enough. So I give myself a lot of breaks these days. Good enough is good enough. And when it is, I stop. It's amazing how much more time I have to do the things that I love by just stopping at good enough. Giving up on perfectionism doesn't mean shifting to mediocrity. It means learning to prioritize more effectively so that you know what really critical things need your perfection, attention, and what things don't. So be aware of your propensity toward perfectionism and be watchful to your reaction, and that will help you reduce the stress that you carry because of that propensity. Comment below and send me an email with your thoughts and feedback. Be sure to follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram so you don't miss any episodes. Thank you for joining me on my front porch. This is Francine Tone and Front Porch Lawyer, and I'll see you next time.